Okay, hi everyone. This is Markeisha with MarkeishaHall.com, and I'm here with our guest, Nina, which is the founder of the I Can Teach. Say hi, Nina. So we're going to talk a little bit about homeschooling, virtual schooling. That's everyone's kind of doing those two things now, and so we're going to talk about autism also, and how those things kind of work together. So I'm going to let Nina tell us a little bit about herself, and then we'll go from there.
Well, my name is Nina. As Markeisha said, I'm the founder of I Can Teach, which is an educational company to help kids thrive for grades first or kindergarten, whatever, starting off kindergarten all the way to 6th grade. And I have 3 children, Malachi, who just turned 15 August 2nd, and he is diagnosed with autism. He was diagnosed at 1 year and 7 months. So young, very young. And the things he enjoys to do, he really enjoys to, I don't know if you're familiar with like IMDb, the movie reviews, but he loves to create that same setup of IMDb, of Disney movies and DreamWorks movies. He loves to type, lift weights. He's very athletic. He loves to exercise. And this year during homeschooling, he wants to learn Spanish. And so we don't discourage the kids from doing things that they want to pursue, and the same is for Malachi. So we're going to help him learn Spanish through Rosetta Stone this year. Eden, she's 13. She loves to dance. Yeah, she's a dancer. She's a hip hop dancer, and she wants to have a studio when she gets older. So this year she's starting her first, she's going to take a CLEP test for algebra and biology to get college credit for Pasadena Community College. So we're so excited about that. And she's focusing on her social media. Then I have Ezekiel, who's 13. No, not 13. Eden's 13. Ezekiel's 9. And he loves art. He loves animals and gaming. So I started homeschooling about 10 years ago. And during that time, from the 10 years to now, I also work with about a little over 40 different children that have a special needs diagnosis. So I had a lot of time to learn what things help them to thrive. I was a respite caregiver. I also homeschooled other people's children. So for a little bit, yes, I did. I homeschooled other people's children. I don't anymore. A lot of people, a lot of my friends, their parents will say, do you homeschool like other people's kids? And I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry, not anymore. Or the kids will be like, I want to be homeschooled, right? When they figure out all the things we do. And then of course I've been working with Malachi because we've been homeschooling since he was in kindergarten. So working with Malachi every day, and that is school, that is learning, that's school for me, within itself. And so, and now over the years, I was mentoring parents, and now I just do all my I Can Teach. That's what my desires are. Just everything that I was doing personally one-on-one, I just want to reach whoever I can help through my I Can Teach.
Awesome. And a little bit of background also, me and Nina know each other because I had the awesome opportunity of being Malachi's teacher in preschool. And so I think we talked about this a little bit before, but Nina definitely shaped my ideas and how I approached IEPs and in schooling, and just their other people's children, and that they have all these awesome things that are inside of them that is up to us as educators and parents to work together to bring out. And he was a joy, and he always smelled really, really good.
Oh, we always put cologne on him. We would dress him kind of like, like in little flannels and vests sometimes and stuff. Yeah, that was awesome. But you know what amazed me about you, Markeisha, is that I always tell people oh, Malachi had the best preschool teacher and she went all out. I remember Malachi learned how to read in preschool because of you. Yes, I remember you thought it was so important that he try other foods, and I'm like, he can't eat that. He doesn't like that. And you're like, well, we could try. Yep. And you'd be like, he touched the orange. Now he put it in his, she would always put these. Oh, I loved that about you, that you would send home these sticky notes of the things that they accomplish. But you know what I was thinking about? Like that, wasn't that your first year of teaching?
That was my first year teaching.
Wow,
My first year teaching, sped preschool. Yep.
You're amazing. That's so crazy.
Thank you. I love my kiddos, and so I love all the kids. And I was like, these are somebody's babies, and this is how I want my babies to be treated, regardless of how they would be able to communicate, or we're gonna find a way to get those mamas what they want.
Yes, you did a great job at it.
Thank you. So that leads us to, I guess you kind of introduced it, said during your introduction, but when and why did you decide to homeschool?
Yeah, so we were discussing, Malachi was in preschool with you, and you helped teach. Well, let's rewind a little bit. Malachi was in therapy in home for about 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. So he was already being taught a lot of educational things in addition to like language, eye contact, all those things that we work on when our kids are diagnosed with autism or have additional any different diagnosis, So he was receiving a lot of help. Their therapist would go home. I would then work with him because as parents, we want our kids to thrive. Then he started preschool with you, and you were amazing. Like I said, you helped him to read, to identify. I remember the first time he rode a bike was at school with you. Like, why do I remember? You were just so amazing. You're so amazing. And yeah, so there's so many things that you were helping him. It was not just like, okay, meet the standard, or you were like above that standard. And that's where my heart was too in my home, like above the standard. And so when he started kindergarten, we had a transition school district, and we went to a different district, and he was learning in his classroom, and there was 14 kids and one teacher and one aide. And that one, any parent that's watching right now and is like, if your child's in a special needs setting, you know that one teacher, one aide for 14 kids is not okay.
Right.
You know that looks like chaos, and so the aide was going to be gone on vacation. So I said, okay, well, I'll come in, I'll help for that day. And Malachi was in kindergarten for 6 weeks at that time. I went in, I was pregnant with my youngest. So I was like 6 months pregnant. And my daughter was with me at school, who was like, I think 3 at the time. And so I was working, and I seen Malachi all the way in the back. He was in the back with 2 other kids, and the principal was in the back helping one of the kids, and she took him out because these are the 3 kids that they felt could not be taught. And one of those was my kid. And so they just let the kids stay in the back of the class, in the desks, scribbling on paper. And my job, because I was there helping, right? My job, she said, was just to make sure Malachi didn't get up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Make sure Malachi doesn't get up, because then he would be a distraction to the class because they felt like he wasn't able to learn. And I'm like, so after seeing all that day and seeing him struggle and just scribble on paper and working so hard all those years prior, him going to kindergarten, having these expectations and hopes and dreams for my kid, like any other, we have those too for our special needs kids. Yes. People that have neurotypical kids that don't have a diagnosis, they have those, but we have those too for our special needs. And so to see that the principal was in there taking a kid out, like it was okay for the principal to say, okay, this kid is not able to learn. I'm going to take him out to the playground all day and just let him play. Right. So I pulled Malachi out. I didn't even call. I didn't know the technical way to pull my son out back 10 years ago. Right. I was like, I'm never going to take him back. And then about 3 or 4 days later, I enrolled him into a homeschooling program through our district, and which is a whole nother story because they didn't have any special needs teachers, special needs people, anybody qualified to teach special needs children. So he thought he was not supposed to be in there. And so it took about 30 days for one of the head people in the district to call me and say, hey, we noticed Malachi hasn't been in class. I'm like, okay, yeah, you noticed now after 30 days. Right. And they started offering me all these things. And back then I didn't know that I could sue, which I probably wouldn't have, but that's what they were trying to do is cover their behind because they just Malachi was out of school. They didn't call. They didn't send a message. Nothing happened,
Right.
So anyways, so that's why I started homeschooling, is because there was a need that needed to be met.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like the school was not meeting that need. And I kind of went extreme with it, but it worked. I kind of went extreme with my decision, but it has been the biggest blessing for our family, not just for Malachi, but to be able to homeschool my other kids as well. Let me see if I missed something. Yeah, I remember too. I remember his kindergarten teacher telling me, like, Malachi doesn't want to come in from recess. Like, he's kicking me every day. And I'm like, what? Like, why? And when I went to volunteer, I realized that recess was that one time where he got to enjoy the day, because he was just being back of the class, like on a table all day, just sitting for hours, And so one thing I also want to mention too is that I believe that it's not the teacher's fault necessarily that was happening. It's so challenging. Some people sometimes don't understand, like, oh, my kid is in school and their teacher is not meeting their needs. And I'm like, it's so hard for one person to meet 14 kids that are different ages, all their needs, especially when you're learning your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, it's a little easier. But now when you're learning multiplication, division, upper level, academics, it's very challenging. So though I didn't like that happened, I don't blame the teacher for that, And so that's when and why I started homeschooling.
That is awesome. I was remembering some of those things as they happened, I was blessed to stay in contact with you. Sorry, I told you a kid might pop in.
I couldn't tell.
So, what happened with his IEP? I know that's a concern for parents when they want to homeschool, not so much during our time right now. We have to worry about it during virtual schooling because their IEPs kind of stay in place. And that's a whole nother thing that we could talk about too. But what happens when you homeschool? What happened with his IEP, or what's going on with that currently?
What some parents may not know is that you can homeschool through different, you could take different avenues to homeschool. So homeschooling isn't just like one path. So you can homeschool through your district if your district provides that, and if you homeschool through your district, then you still have an IEP. So if you homeschool through a charter school, you still have an IEP. And if you homeschool privately, that means you're deeming yourself, and not all states let you do this. Not all states let you homeschool privately, or, every state has different laws and guidelines. So you have to look it up in your state. We live in California. So in California, you could file a private school affidavit. And if you do that, then you no longer have an IEP because you're now your own school. However, if you don't have your own IEP, that is okay, because I've been teaching my son, and I've been teaching my son in applying speech therapy in our home myself. And I don't just like pull it out of the air and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. No, I learn. I study. I study from while I'm learning the letter R, how to tackle that for my youngest boy, because he's been struggling with that. And we're like casually trying to do it. And it's like, okay, like I casually try to do it. Now I need to for real do it, know? But I'm learning from somebody who's mastered it, who teaches that program, who's been doing it for like 15 years, And so, you could still receive, there's still services through your insurance. There's other ways to go about. So if you feel intimidated, like if I put my son out of public school or their school, and they're no longer going to have an IEP, don't feel intimidated, because there's so many other things you could do. And not only that, you guys, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels like this, but 45 minutes a week is not enough. So you could still provide them more therapy than the school system could do for them. Also a really good therapy programs that I have used or continue to use is Gemini. I love Gemini. Yeah. Gemini teaches, it starts off with a level for kids that have no language, all the way to advanced conversations like what we're having right now. lot of parents are like, oh, my kids have speech. Like, we don't need Gemini. And I'm like, no, like it goes way advanced to higher level thinking. Like I love it. And it is, you know, we don't do ABA, but it is kind of geared towards ABA, but I still like it because it's visual based, it's audio based, and then there's words as well. And those are all super important for our kids, you know, for our kids to learn. There's movies in it too. The Sunrise program, I love the Sunrise program. It teaches to love and accept your child where they're at, and then help them to thrive from there.
Yes, we're going to talk about that one too.
Oh, okay.
And more of Miss Nina, who is the founder of I Can Teach. She's got a wealth of knowledge for sure. I'm like this.
Thank
Lean
you.
in, as I'm a new mom. Well, he's been with us for a little while now, but of a child with special needs, and I'm on the other side. And I've got it. We got to get it. I had a passion for it and a love for it before. And now I guess I'm that mom. I guess that's what they say. Put a little asterisk by the name, because I just want everyone to see the great things that I know and see in him. And going back, we can go back and forth, but that's one thing that you said during the very first IEP when we didn't know each other or know that he was going to be in my classroom, is you said something along the lines of, he can, you know what he can do, and God knows what he can do. Yeah, you, Nina. And despite what all the reports were saying that he was going to, you're just speaking so much life. And as a mom sitting on the other side, I was a teacher, but then I was a mom. I was like, that's how I feel about my kids. Like, you're going to tell me what they can and cannot. You don't know, but we can work together to bring those things to fruition, as close to fruition as, we don't know. We didn't know. And that was so beautiful. And that touched me so much. And I'll just never, it just changed the way that I thought and taught. It wasn't like, oh, they're a special needs mom. And at the time I wasn't, and I'm a neurotypical mom. It was just like, we're just moms, and look, she wants this for her son, and I have these tools and she has these tools, and together, we can work together to make those things happen. And yeah, you were a blessing to me for sure. You shaped my teaching heart that first year for sure. So you don't only homeschool Malachi, though, you also homeschool the other two littles. And so what are some tips for moms that are, you're homeschooled? There are 3 different grade levels. We have 15, 13, and 9. 3 different ages. And then if they're anything like my kids, they're siblings, and they're like, oh, stop, and you took my pen, and what does that look like?
Well, first, I want to kind of rewind a little bit before I forget. You had said about you had mentioned your child about homeschooling and kind of going in that direction. And I want to make a note, is that a lot of times we don't plan to homeschool. Like, we just desire to see our kids thrive, and that leads us to homeschooling, and that's okay. We desire to see our kids thrive, and so that leads us to homeschooling. And so, I already talked to you private and stuff, and I feel it's for you, Markeisha.
I know, right?
We don't plan. We're not like, like, oh, we want to do all these things for home. No, it's like a lot of times we just want our kids to thrive, and they're not thriving in the current situation. I was surprised back when I first started homeschooling, learning all the many reasons why kids are homeschooled. And one of the big reasons is people's kids are bullied. And so they pull them out and homeschool them. And so once again, as parents, we just want our kids to thrive.
Yes.
And so we all homeschool for different reasons. Some, I remember the homeschool program I was in, their son was in a mariachi band, and he would travel a lot, and that's how they wanted their kid to thrive. And so he couldn't do that in a public school. He couldn't have those same hours, he couldn't perform and be in school at the same time. So they had to pull him up because they desired to see their child to thrive. And so, back to what you were saying. Okay, so you were saying, how do I homeschool? How do I homeschool all of them at the same time. Is that what you were saying?
Right. They're siblings. They're at home. You took my pencil. Wrestling in between. What is it? What is it? How do we do? How would a parent in this, especially in this current climate, because in California we're homeschooling different grade levels. When I say we, I mean me. Help me. What is that? How does that?
In the beginning, it always feels very challenging. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I was a stay-at-home mom before I started homeschooling. So it wasn't like a big transition for me. It wasn't a big transition for me to, isn't like I was never home with my kids, or sometimes home with my kids, and then always home with my kids. So in the beginning, it's going to be challenging. It's new. It's something different. You have to learn how to get along, right? One of the things that I've taught my kids over the years is the hardest people to get along with are the people closest to you. So if you can get along, if you know how to communicate and get along with your family, your siblings, your spouse, or my kids don't have a spouse, but I'm saying like parents is, get along with your spouse, your parents, your cousins, whoever, then you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay out there. And so we've been homeschooling for 10 years. I was a stay-at-home mom for the 5 years before then. So we had a lot of time to work with that. And so it's hard at the beginning, but just keep on working with your child's behavior. Don't let something pass you by. Like don't let, if your kid's struggling with the behavior, address it. Mm-hmm. Your kids know what they could get by with, and that's only because we let them.
Yes.
So address it right away, have conversations with them, be open with them. There's kids that are too young to understand and can't be held accountable like the other kids. And so we have to be very careful how we address them, having different approaches to that. And you were saying, how do we teach a lot of different subjects or topics? Because we don't always teach subjects. We teach also topics.
So you're learning something?
Yes. And so those topics may align within science or social studies, but we don't, we teach a lot of times geared towards our child's interest and things that motivate them. We also teach things that we think are important that our kids don't even know about yet, because to our kids, they might not know, like I need to practice communication skills or diet, how to take care of my body. But we know as adults that's important because we all struggle with it, right? It's like we all struggle with so many things, and school is a perfect time to learn those things. And so the things that you could pull together are science. Your kids could all learn science at the same time. Social studies, math is a little bit more challenging because every child is at a different level, there's a lot of different things you can pull together. You just have to use your imagination. And I know some people are like, I don't have an imagination, which I think is true. Some people really don't have that ability to visualize, but I'm like, but that's not an excuse because we have Pinterest.
Yes.
We have internet. So we all are strong in different areas. If you feel like one of your areas, your strong areas is not visualizing or creating, look on the internet.
Right.
There's hundreds of ideas. And so I don't know, that was kind of a broad question. Do you have a more specific question regarding that so I can kind of answer it more specifically?
No, I think you did. I think also I'm going to put it on here that you did like a schedule on your I Can Teach. I think on the Facebook page, I think I was kind of, it is very broad. Just, I think you touched on it well for us to understand that you have to, there's different topics and you could bring things together for the different age groups. And I know that on your Facebook page and on your website, you have some schedules that are out there for them. And it's all there down there, guys. You can check out some of the good information that she's already laid out for you. I'm really considering about homeschooling myself. So what are someone's just getting started? What's like 3 things that they have to do? I'm pulling my son out tomorrow.
Ooh, I think I put like 6, but I'm going to share all of them because they're important.
Okay.
All right. About 6. The number one thing that I recommend for sure that gets passed by all the time is mentorship.
Okay.
Okay. That's so important. And it doesn't mean that you have to have somebody on the phone or in person mentoring you. It means that it's important to study, to go on social media, find somebody else that's already doing it, has been homeschooling already and has knowledge that they can share with you, because a good mentor will let you know everything they know. And that could save you years of struggle, really, So mentorship is so important. Having a schedule on your calendar. I use Google Calendar, and in the future, we're going to make a video on how to do that.
Okay.
Not a schedule for homeschooling. It's your whole day, because a lot of times we separate the homeschooling and our life schedule, but it's really together, because a lot of times we're like, somebody might ask, oh, can you do this on this day? And we look at our schedule and it's just important to see all the things on, say, for Monday. Can you do this on Monday? And you look on your Monday calendar to be able to see if you have time or not. Also, I mark off things that I do, that I complete. So I have my calendar has things of what I do that day and all the other days. And then I mark it in purple, that I accomplished it, that it's done. So a lot of times in our mind, we're like, oh yeah, we let the kids socialize. Oh yeah, we practice character building. We all these goals that we have, like, oh, we went to karate, and then we look at our schedule and it doesn't lie, right? Our schedule doesn't lie. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't marked in purple. Like, I think we were doing this faithfully, but really, I was really sucking at it this month. So having a calendar structure, because if you have no structure, everybody needs structure in a business. In every aspect of their life, we need structure. So our home life is no different. Homeschooling is no different. So having a calendar, you guys, teach. I already had touch bases on this, but teach topics you think are vital for each child. Topics that you want, that you think that they need to learn, and then subjects or topics that are required from that state or that the country that you live in. And so those are good. A lot of times people let the kids learn like self-motivated, and I believe in that. I do. But I also believe that our kids don't know everything. So there are some things that my kids need to work on, but they're not going to say, Mom, can I work on this?
Right.
Like diet is one of them. Diet is huge. I mean, we were all of our family, me, my husband, and my kids, we had some meat on us until we started eating differently. But our bodies changed. The way we felt changed. Our energy level changed. So, and then love and accept your child where they're at, and then help them to grow. That's super important, especially for kids that have additional needs, because a lot of times we get frustrated.
Right.
Or like, or even, we get frustrated, and a lot of times we let it out on them. And so it's important to love them. Like, hey, I love you. I accept you where you're at. You're stemming all day. I accept you. You're having a hard time, and accepting them in their behavior sometimes could be hard, because our kids struggle in their behaviors, right? Our kids struggle. I remember my son had massive meltdowns for years until we took him off gluten and dairy, and started changing his diets or supplements and all that stuff. But loving and accepting, and then helping them to grow. So you don't just love and accept and then just leave them there. No, you love and accept and help them to grow. Right. And then having that entrepreneur mindset. So in homeschooling, a lot of times we think, this is what my goals are for my kids. Oh, but I can't do that because I don't have the finances. Oh, but I can't do that because I don't have the materials. There's so many times I could have, my kids and I may have not have experienced something if I would have believed that within myself. So I don't believe that. If there's something that we want to do, I'm like, do I need to ask them, can I volunteer for my kids to have a session there? What do I need to do to make this happen? If I think it's that important, I'm not going to let something limit me. I'm going to have an entrepreneur mindset. Because overall, my goal for my kids is to see them to thrive and to see them to meet their full potential in every season that they're at. And kids do. They have purpose too. Yes. They have growing seasons too. They have all those things that we're going through on it's their own story. It's not really ours. It doesn't look mature as ours, but they still do have their own thing. And so helping our kids to thrive and to reach their full potential. And then the last one is setting high goals or high expectations, like high standards. If you set goals, like the screen's hard, so I'm like,
I know, right?
you set goals this high. I can't put it that high because then my hand doesn't show. But if you set goals really high, but you only meet the amount like this much, you're still gonna hit a lot higher as if you set goals this low.
Right.
So set your goals really high. It's okay if you don't meet 120% of them.
Right.
Even if you hit 80, that might have way surpassed the amount that you would have hit if you didn't set any goals or little goals.
Right.
So those are the things, the 5 or 6 tips that I had. Number 1, mentorship.
Yes, that was good.
Look for homeschooling, social media, videos, books. When I first started homeschooling, I read John Dewey, The School of Chicago. It taught how to homeschool based on interest. And I really like that. And know this too, you guys, when you guys are seeking out mentorship, whether it be through books or videos, we're not always going to agree with 100% of the things that the people are saying. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for information that we could pull from that person. Okay, we don't have to agree with everything they're saying.
Right.
We're trying to pull information that might suit our family, because that might be a good idea. It might be a good idea what that person's saying, but it just doesn't fit our family, or it doesn't fit our family in the season that we're in.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good right there. The season that you're in. Yeah.
So don't shut someone out because you're like, oh, I don't agree with everything they're saying, because you don't have to agree with everything they're saying. You have to pull that one. They might even say one sentence, and you're like, oh, that hit right there.
Right.
And you use that in my family, and that's all. Like, that's all you need to grow, to help your kids to grow.
I think what I'm hearing too, and what I know about you also, is that you do take the things that you need and you make it your own. And I want all moms, and especially moms and dads, because Dre tells me do not leave out the dads.
Dre's your husband. Yeah.
I know I didn't introduce my peeps. Dre is my husband, and I lost what I was gonna say.
The dads.
Oh yes. So we want them to just succeed and to thrive. And we're going to put together a plan that has it. And what the world tells us, or when you first get a diagnosis, and we're going to have a whole nother session about that part of it, then it's just, I remember as a teacher having to read the assessment results. I guess that's what I want to do. And so having you say that, and being, Malachi's now 15 years old, you can speak to, like, from there, all the negativity. I hate to say it, but it is negative, because it's a lot of what they can't do. Maybe that's what I can teach. And it makes you, from hearing that over and over again, and you don't have anyone like a mentor or someone to listen to, then you're like, okay, well, this is what it is. They can't do those things. And so to hear other parents, and for me, I was blessed to see other students being able to go above what those results said that they would do, is really, it just gives you hope. And that's what we want to give, not hope and action, because we want to.
Right. That's important. It's not just to have the knowledge, but to act on it. And yeah, that's important.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We're going to get back. I apologize. My computer was going down. One of the teenagers came in. I think he wants to go to his friend's house.
Okay.
But I appreciate you taking your time. I'm going to put your information down at the bottom. It's icanteach.net is the website. Facebook is iCanTeach1. Instagram is iCanTeach1, and Twitter is iCanTeach_. Yes. Oh, and also YouTube, iCanTeach.
Yes, right. And on YouTube, yeah. If I could just take 1 second on YouTube, we used to look up a whole bunch of educational videos for our kids, whether it be ABCs, the phonics sounds, numbers, all, like anything from a menstrual cycle for girls or puberty for boys to the world or what. There's so many different topics on there, but it would take us hours to look. Take me hours to look that up because I wanted my kids not just to learn through a textbook, but hands-on through videos, all these different ways. So what I did is I grouped them into groups and I researched them myself and made them child-friendly so they don't have like cursing or inappropriate. The only thing that I advise is when you go to my I Can Teach, if you don't want your kids to watch certain stuff like the menstrual cycle, then you know, don't let them watch that. If they're too young, they're not ready for that, or animals giving birth. But yeah, so we grouped that and we saved hundreds of hours. And we also have free family events, more than 70 in California on our I Can Teach website.
Awesome. Well, we will be checking those out. I've checked them out. I really did enjoy the birth. Was it the puppies?
Oh, that's not on my I Can Teach, but that was for my own individual dogs. Yeah. They were
I enjoyed it.
Annuals were giving birth.
Oh, that was so sweet. And the kids loved it. So I am going to also let parents that are doing virtual school and you have IEPs, if you want to review your IEP to get the most access out of what they need for this year, go ahead and reach out to me on markeshahall.com and we could take a look, review your IEP.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say goodbye, unless you have anything else to add in.
I just want to add that you've been a blessing my IEPs as well. When you weren't Malachi's teacher, when you were Malachi's teacher, you were present, but after, during the years, you were such a blessing. So definitely super knowledgeable. Markesha, super knowledgeable, very educated, and super sweet.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we're going to get all this done together. We're going to have more of these chats to help our families out there. So thank you, Nina, and we'll see everyone soon.
Bye.